Imagine a moment that changes everything, where one decision reshapes your entire future. What if I told you that moment is right in front of you, and today I'm going to show you how to seize it? Stay with me. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. Shocking scene in the courtroom. It was a moment unlike anything we've seen in recent congressional history, a dramatic and fiery courtroom scene that has left Washington reeling and the nation stunned. At the center of this political earthquake is none other than Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, commonly known as AOC, who completely lost her composure during a high-stakes court hearing earlier this week. For those who witnessed it in person or saw clips circulating online, the scene was nothing short of explosive. The hearing, held in a federal courtroom packed with press, security, and political observers, was meant to address comments AOC allegedly made toward former ICE Director Tom Homan. But what was intended to be a formal legal proceeding quickly devolved into chaos when the Congresswoman erupted in a fit of anger during cross-examination. Courtroom. Observers say it started with a tense exchange between AOC and the prosecutor, who was reading a transcript of her previous public statements regarding Homan. As he quoted lines that allegedly hinted at violence or personal threats, AOC's expression hardened, her tone shifted, and then, in a shocking turn, she slammed her hand on the table so hard that her microphone shook and began shouting over the attorney. "You are twisting my words!" she shouted, pointing her finger toward the prosecution table. "I stand by my passion, but I never threatened anyone." The room fell into stunned silence for a moment, as even the judge appeared momentarily taken aback. Then murmurs began among attendees. The bailiff moved closer to the bench, and members of AOC's legal team rushed to calm her down. But the Congresswoman was not finished. She continued to speak out of turn, insisting the entire hearing was a political attack orchestrated by what she called radical right-wing operatives looking to smear a progressive voice. Witnesses described the moment as chaotic, unhinged, and completely inappropriate for a sitting member of Congress. Several people in the gallery reportedly gasped as AOC threw up her arms and stormed out of the courtroom, ignoring the judge's demand to remain seated. One legal analyst, watching the scene unfold live via courtroom feed, told a major news outlet, "I've been covering political trials for over 2 decades, and I've never seen a meltdown like this, not from a witness, and certainly not from an elected official. This was frankly surreal." The core issue that brought AOC to court centers around comments she allegedly made during a heated immigration oversight hearing last year. According to transcripts, she made a pointed remark to Tom Homan, the former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, implying that people like him should be held accountable in ways you're clearly not ready for. Her defenders say it was metaphorical and a critique of immigration policies. Her opponents call it a thinly veiled threat of violence. The situation escalated when Homan's legal team filed an official complaint, citing safety concerns and claiming the remarks crossed a line. That complaint led to the current legal proceedings and the courtroom drama that now has the entire country talking. Political reactions were swift and divided. Conservatives and critics of AOC were quick to seize the moment as proof of what they've long called her emotional instability and unfitness for office. Social media lit up with hashtags like Kang AOC Meltdown and Han Unfit to Serve. Fox News ran back-to-back segments showing clips of the outburst, while conservative commentators like Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson called for an immediate ethics investigation. "This wasn't a moment of passion," Carlson said on his show. "This was a public breakdown by someone who holds real power over American policy." But on the other side, AOC's allies rallied to her defense. Progressive figures like Rep. Ilhan Omar and Senator Bernie Sanders framed the courtroom incident as a human response to years of targeted harassment. Alexandria has faced endless attacks simply for speaking out against injustice, Sanders tweeted. "We should be supporting bold leadership, not punishing it." Despite the political spin from both camps, Legal experts warn that the outburst could have real consequences. Violating courtroom decorum, especially when under subpoena, could result in fines, contempt charges, or even censure by the House Ethics Committee. Some members of Congress are already calling for disciplinary action. The question now isn't just whether AOC's comments were threatening, it's whether her behavior in court further damages her credibility, her legal standing, and possibly even her future in Congress. The threat that shook the Hill. So, what exactly did Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez say that sent shockwaves through Washington and landed her at the center of this political firestorm? It all started during what was supposed to be a routine but highly charged congressional hearing on immigration reform, a topic that has long divided lawmakers along party lines. The hearing featured testimony from several officials, including former Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE Director Tom Homan, a vocal proponent of strict border enforcement policies. The room was tense from the beginning. Emotions were already running high, with protesters gathered outside the building and heated exchanges occurring throughout the morning. But things took a dramatic turn when AOC took the floor and began questioning Homan with her characteristic fiery passion. What happened next would ignite a political and legal inferno. According to the official transcript and verified by multiple witnesses, AOC leaned forward, looked Homan directly in the eyes and declared, "People like you don't deserve to walk free after what you've done." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Some in the chamber gasped audibly. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. It wasn't just the content of the statement. It was the tone, the delivery, and the highly charged context in which it was said. Supporters of AOC were quick to defend the remark, framing it as a bold condemnation of policies they consider inhumane and unjust. "She was speaking truth to power," tweeted one progressive activist. The atrocities committed under Homan's leadership at ICE, family separations, child detentions, and raids, deserve moral outrage. But critics saw it very differently. Conservative lawmakers, centrist Democrats, and legal analysts alike said AOC had crossed a dangerous line, not just rhetorically, but potentially legally. Several members of Congress called it a thinly veiled threat, arguing that no public official, no matter how passionate, should imply that another government servant doesn't deserve freedom. Homan himself wasted no time responding. Within 24 hours, his legal team filed a formal complaint, citing AOC's comment as a direct threat to his personal safety and an abuse of her congressional platform. Speaking outside the courthouse following the filing, Homan appeared visibly shaken. "This isn't just about words," he told reporters. "It's about the safety of public servants and ensuring that threats, whether direct or indirect, are never tolerated in the halls of Congress. I served this country. I enforced the law. And now I'm being told I shouldn't be walking free? That's not oversight. That's intimidation." His words struck a chord with many across the political spectrum. Former DHS officials, retired ICE agents, and law professors weighed in, suggesting that AOC's comment, whether intended as a literal threat or not, had serious implications. "This goes beyond the boundaries of heated debate," said constitutional law expert Linda Garza during a televised panel discussion. "The First Amendment protects political speech, but it does not shield elected officials from accountability when that speech crosses into potential threats, especially against other government personnel." The incident quickly escalated beyond the courtroom. Cable news outlets ran the clip on loop. Social media exploded with hashtags like #AOC threat and #protect Tom Homan. On Capitol Hill, several lawmakers introduced a resolution calling for a formal investigation into whether AOC's statement violated congressional ethics rules or even federal law. Meanwhile, the political divide grew even deeper. While progressive commentators continued to defend AOC's comments as righteous indignation, many moderates warned that such rhetoric could fuel further polarization and even violence. "This is how democracy breaks down," said Rep. Henry Cuellar, a moderate Democrat from Texas. When members of Congress start using courtroom language like that, it opens the door for real-world consequences, and not the good kind. Adding fuel to the fire, leaked audio from a closed-door Democratic caucus meeting revealed that some of AOC's own colleagues were uncomfortable with her approach. One unnamed representative reportedly said, "She's putting all of us in a tough spot. We want to stand with her values, but this rhetoric is making it impossible." The broader implications of the controversy are still unfolding. As the Ethics Committee prepares to review the complaint and legal experts debate the threshold for congressional misconduct, one thing is clear: AOC's comment has transformed a policy disagreement into a national spectacle. Whether it was a reckless slip of the tongue or a deliberate political statement, the fallout has been swift and severe. The incident has not only intensified the ongoing culture war in Washington, but it's also raised serious questions about the limits of free speech for elected officials and the responsibility they bear for their words. In the end, it may not just be about what AOC said, but what it symbolizes in the current climate of American politics, a deeply divided nation where even a single sentence can ignite a firestorm with no signs of stopping. In the wake of the explosive courtroom outburst by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, a political firestorm has ignited on Capitol Hill, and this time it's not just her usual critics fanning the flames. The fallout from the hearing has grown so severe that now, even some of AOC's own colleagues in the Democratic Party are questioning whether she should remain in office. The controversy stems not only from her courtroom conduct, which included yelling over the prosecutor, slamming the desk, and storming out during cross-examination, but also from the statement she allegedly made to former ICE Director Tom Homan. "People like you don't deserve to walk free after what you've done." To many Americans, particularly conservatives and moderates, this wasn't just a fiery moment of political theater. It was a potential threat, and one they believe crossed a serious line. Now those concerns have snowballed into full-blown political action. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy didn't mince words during a press conference following the incident. "This isn't about partisanship," he said. "This is about conduct. This is about whether someone who sits in the people's house should be allowed to weaponize their position, use intimidating language, and then show complete disregard for our legal system when held accountable." Her behavior in that courtroom was not just embarrassing, it was dangerous. But the shock didn't stop there. A bipartisan coalition of lawmakers, including a handful of centrist Democrats, has introduced a formal resolution seeking to censure and potentially expel AOC from the House of Representatives. The resolution, which is now gaining momentum, accuses her of violating the code of conduct expected of elected officials and engaging in behavior that could incite violence or retaliation. The resolution reads in part, "No representative should be allowed to remain in office after making statements that can be construed as violent or inciting in nature. Congress must hold its members to the highest standard of integrity and accountability." For many political observers, this marks a rare and dramatic escalation. While censure is relatively more common, essentially a formal reprimand, expulsion is extremely rare. In fact, only 5 members in the entire history of the United States Congress have ever been expelled, and all were for treason or extreme corruption. Could AOC become the 6th? Legal experts say the path is narrow but not impossible. While expelling a sitting member of Congress requires a 2/3 majority vote, noted constitutional law professor Daniel Kerrigan, the seriousness of this case, paired with growing bipartisan frustration, could create the political will necessary to make it happen. If the Ethics Committee finds her behavior to be not only unethical but insightful, it opens the door. The political world, meanwhile, is abuzz with speculation, predictions, and, unsurprisingly, division. On the right, Republican lawmakers are seizing the opportunity to paint AOC as unhinged and unfit for office. "This isn't about silencing a progressive voice," said Rep. Jim Jordan. This is about removing a representative who used threatening language, disrespected the rule of law, and threw a tantrum in a courtroom. If anyone else did that, they'd be in contempt. On the left, reactions are mixed. While some progressives are standing firmly behind AOC, accusing the GOP of trying to weaponize the judicial system to silence dissent, others within her own party are remaining uncharacteristically quiet. Several moderate Democrats have declined to defend her publicly, and a few, speaking anonymously to reporters, have admitted the incident may have gone too far to ignore. The public is just as divided. Following the hearing, social media exploded with hashtags like "Yet I remove AOC," "Yet censure now," and "Jar AOC meltdown," drawing millions of reactions within hours. Some users called for her immediate resignation, while others warned that punishing her would set a dangerous precedent against political speech. Memes, video clips, opinion pieces, and fiery TikToks flooded the internet, each framing AOC either as a hero fighting for justice or a liability to American democracy. One viral tweet read, "If a conservative had said what AOC said to Homan, they'd be out of a job tomorrow. Accountability can't be selective." Yet another responded, "This is why we need voices like AOC. She said what millions of us are thinking. ICE has committed atrocities, and it's about time someone called them out." Back in Washington, the House Ethics Committee has already launched a preliminary review of AOC's courtroom behavior and the original threat allegation. Sources close to the committee suggest that formal hearings could begin in a matter of weeks, putting her political future in even more jeopardy. With midterm elections on the horizon and political tensions at an all-time high, the AOC controversy has become more than just a news story. It's now a litmus test for how far Congress is willing to go to police its own members. As one senior lawmaker put it, "This isn't just about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez anymore. This is about the tone of our government, the standard we set, and whether we still believe in civility, even when we passionately disagree." AOC fires back. "I will not be silenced." Despite the growing calls for her censure, and even expulsion from Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not retreating quietly. In fact, she's doing the opposite. In a fiery and emotionally charged statement to the press outside the courthouse, AOC blasted the entire legal ordeal as nothing more than a political hit job, one she claims is designed to punish her for challenging the political elite. "I've spent my career standing up for the voiceless," she declared, her voice unwavering before a sea of cameras and reporters. "Now they're trying to silence me because I dared to challenge the status quo. This isn't justice. It's political persecution." Her words lit up the national discourse once again. Supporters hailed her as defiant and courageous, while critics accused her of deflecting responsibility and stoking the flames even higher. But AOC didn't stop there. She went on to claim that former ICE Director Tom Homan, the man at the center of her alleged threat, was working in tandem with conservative lawmakers and special interest groups to weaponize the court system against progressive voices. According to AOC, the aim is clear: intimidate, silence, and dismantle the movement for change. "This is bigger than me," she said. "This is about every progressive who's ever spoken truth to power and been punished for it. If they can come after me, they can come after any of us." In response, her legal team has filed a motion to dismiss the case entirely, citing First Amendment protections and arguing that her statement, "People like you don't deserve to walk free," was political speech taken wildly out of context. They argue that it wasn't a threat, but rather a moral condemnation of ICE policies that many, including legal scholars and human rights organizations, have also criticized as harmful or unethical. AOC's remarks are being mischaracterized and manipulated to serve a political agenda, said her lead attorney, Marisa Delgado. Freedom of speech, especially when used to hold power to account, must be protected, not punished. In an emotional podcast interview shortly after the press conference, AOC broke down in tears while speaking to progressive host Aria Bloom. Her voice cracked as she spoke of the emotional toll the controversy has taken on her and the people she represents. If standing up to ICE makes me a target, she said, pausing for breath, then so be it. I will not apologize for fighting for what's right, for the kids in cages, for the families torn apart, for those who have no voice. If I have to pay a price for that, I'll do it, but I will not back down. The comments resonated deeply. With her core base of supporters, many of whom rallied behind her with trending hashtags like "I stand with AOC," "Hands off progressives," and "Her speech is not violence." Online fundraisers were launched, protest signs were printed, and progressive activists flooded social media with calls for solidarity. But behind the scenes, the mood was more cautious, even among her allies. One anonymous Democratic strategist, reportedly close to House leadership, told a political blog, "She's walking a very thin line. The passion is admirable, and she's not wrong to call out injustice. But we're in a delicate political moment, and this kind of defiance, especially in the face of a formal legal complaint, could end badly. If she doesn't pivot soon, she may not survive the next election cycle, or even the next month, in office." Other Democrats have privately expressed concern that AOC's combative approach could backfire, giving ammunition to Republicans and alienating swing voters. "It's not about the message, it's about the delivery." One House Democrat was quoted saying, "There's a way to stand for your values without torching every bridge in sight." Meanwhile, Republican leaders are doubling down on efforts to push the censure and expulsion resolution forward. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy responded to AOC's statement by saying, "She can call it a witch hunt all she wants, but the fact remains, her behavior was unacceptable for a member of Congress. She's not the victim here, she's the problem." As the legal motion winds its way through the system and the Ethics Committee continues its preliminary review, the clock is ticking. AOC's fate may ultimately rest not just in the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion and the halls of Congress. For now, AOC remains on the offensive, determined to turn the controversy into a rallying cry for progressives and a warning shot against what she calls authoritarian overreach. But whether that strategy will solidify her standing or lead to her downfall is a question the nation and her colleagues will be forced to answer very soon. As the dust begins to settle from the chaotic courtroom confrontation involving Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and former ICE Director Tom Homan, one truth remains undeniable: America is watching. And what happens next could reshape the nation's political future. With the headlines still swirling, attention has now fully shifted to the House Ethics Committee, where deliberations are underway. The committee is expected to deliver its findings in the coming weeks, and if the evidence aligns with the growing political pressure, the House may face a historic vote, whether to expel a sitting member of Congress. Such a move is incredibly rare. In over 2 centuries of American governance, only 5 members of the House have ever been expelled, and never for conduct stemming from speech in a congressional setting. If AOC becomes the 6th, it would not just be a personal defeat. It would send shockwaves across both sides of the political aisle. Political analyst Caroline Hayes summed it up on a primetime panel. If AOC is removed, progressives will see it as nothing less than a declaration of war. It will galvanize the far left, ignite protests, and deepen the divide in a country already on edge. But if she stays, conservatives argue it sends a chilling message that political threats, even vague or indirect, are fair game in today's discourse. This tug-of-war isn't just unfolding in Washington, it's playing out across kitchen tables, Twitter threads, podcast debates, and university campuses. The clash between political accountability and free speech has rarely been so visceral, so public, and so deeply personal. Meanwhile, Tom Homan, the man at the center of the controversy, continues to speak out. In interviews and public appearances, he has refused to back down, insisting that AOC's comment, "People like you don't deserve to walk free after what you've done," was a dangerous escalation that crossed a legal and moral line. I don't care if you're a congresswoman or a janitor," Homan told reporters. No one gets a free pass to threaten people. Period. This isn't about politics. It's about principle. His firm stance has won praise from conservative leaders, law enforcement organizations, and commentators who believe public figures should be held to the highest standards of conduct, especially when wielding powerful rhetoric in tense environments. Yet, AOC's defenders continue to argue that her words have been misrepresented and intentionally twisted. They claim the entire case is a strategic attempt to neutralize one of the loudest voices in Congress fighting against the status quo. Progressive activist and author Maya Torres voiced what many in the movement are feeling. This isn't about one sentence in a heated hearing. This is about silencing bold, unapologetic truth. AOC didn't threaten violence. She called out injustice. Now, the establishment is trying to teach her, and the rest of us, a lesson. The intensity of the national response has revealed a much larger truth. This isn't just a legal or ethical debate. It's a symbolic clash over the soul of American politics. Will Congress reaffirm a rigid standard for decorum and accountability? Or will it embrace a more flexible, and some argue, dangerously vague, interpretation of political speech? Public opinion remains divided. In a recent national poll conducted after the hearing, 48% of respondents said AOC should face some form of punishment, including censure or expulsion. 39% felt the case was overblown and rooted in political bias. The remaining 13% were undecided, unsure of how to weigh one of the most polarizing political events in recent memory. What's more telling is the energy behind the debate. Protesters have already begun assembling outside congressional offices, in both support and opposition. Editorial boards have taken sides. Commentators have branded it either the fall of a star or a witch hunt against a truth-teller. For the Democratic Party, the stakes are particularly high. If leadership pushes back against AOC too hard, they risk alienating young voters and progressives, a crucial base ahead of the next election. But if they don't respond at all, they may lose credibility with moderates and independents, who value restraint and institutional respect. In the midst of the chaos, AOC remains defiant. Her most recent social media post read simply, "I was elected to fight for the people. I won't stop, no matter how ugly it gets." Whether her fighting spirit will carry her through or lead to her political undoing is a question that now hangs in the balance. The upcoming weeks could define not just AOC's future, but the very boundaries of political speech, the integrity of congressional conduct, and the kind of discourse Americans are willing to accept from their elected officials. Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. This moment is a political flashpoint, and it will be remembered for years to come. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Should AOC be expelled, or is this a dangerous overreach? Don't forget to like the video if you found it eye-opening. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a major political twist. And share this with a friend who needs to see what's really happening behind the headlines.